The gospel reading for today is a difficult reading to take in. I always stop short when I read a passage that says, weeping and gnashing of teeth, or weeds being thrown in the fire. It is in such contradiction to the God I love and am loved by. My God would find a way to redeem even the most noxious of weeds. But here we are. So I searched for a reason for the weeds in the rocky places. I searched for a way to find God's love in those places. And I find it. I find the way even the weeds serve a purpose. In the soil, yes, they can choke the wheat. They can also help the soil to not erode. They can keep water in the soil. The hot climate of ancient Israel, Palestine, may not get much water, but the water it got often came down pounding hard and forming streams right through the fields, and could easily sweep away the seeds. The weeds help keep the soil from doing that. Even burning the weeds serve a purpose. You can take the ashes and put it back into the soil to be fertilizer for the next year. Nothing goes to waste in God's creation. Then there are the human truths about weeds, rocky soil, and little critters coming to eat the harvest. We are the wheat, and we are oftentimes beset by struggles on many sides. But still we bloom. I was walking down my driveway the other day when I noticed a crack in the asphalt. And in that crack there was a little purple flower, and it was beautiful. A tiny flower pushing its way up in a sea of asphalt. Life will out. Life yearns. Life turns towards the sun and seeks growth. In the face of struggle, in the face of drought, in the face of being pushed to its limits, life perseveres. But it does not persevere on its own. It requires us to nurture it, feed it, protect it. It depends on the community to sustain it. That is where we come in. The church looks after God's harvest. It can be hard work, as probably every one of you here knows. But honestly, it is usually a labor of love. We care for the church community itself. We care for one another within the church. We care for the world beyond the church. We care for the wider church, the human family, and God's creation. Nature teaches us this fundamental truth. We are all connected. And if you've been watching the news, you have seen how that's played out with the heat all over the globe. We are now moving into a time when, boy, we're never going to be able to lose sight of the fact that we're interconnected. I have discovered your wonderful prayer chain. You let one another know that you are not alone. In times of fear or anxiety, uncertainty, or communal struggle, you are not alone. You are seen and you are cared for, and God is welcomed into your struggle. You serve your greater community through your food bank and other community outreach. You do it alongside other communities, and as individuals, you are members of other communities. So you are a part of a community of communities. That was a big deal when I was in seminary, and a big deal when I was studying political science. We are in a community of communities, the community of communities that overlap, that share space, and it's the DNA that keeps us alive in body and spirit. When I was a teenager, my family would go into Boston to do Christmas shopping. Down the street from the stores was the Episcopal Cathedral. It is where George Washington worshiped during the war. We would stop in it and say a prayer. Oftentimes, the organist would be there practicing, and we'd listen to the music. We'd marvel at the pews. It was very funny because it's a church built before the Revolution, so it's very old-fashioned, and the front pews had little doors that shut, where the leading members of the congregation would buy those pews, basically rent those pews. And when they came to church, they'd bring hot bricks in the wintertime to keep their feet warm, because church lasted 3 hours, 4 hours. So we'd always marvel at that and chuckle at that. And I remember the day we went and the church was closed. It was locked. We had never seen a locked church before. That was like a sacrilege. How can that be? It's supposed to be there for everyone. Years later, I took my church youth group to that church. I did not think that they would want to spend much time there. After all, they did not come from a family of history geeks like I did. But they wandered around, sat down in the pews and prayed. They listened quietly to the organ music, and they read the historical markers. All I did was point these things out to them. They went for it, and they did not want to leave. The church was there for them, even if it had changed a little, and even if for only specific hours. It had changed and it had adapted, but it was still there. And it spoke to these young people and it nurtured them. In that moment, it was their church and they were part of the wider church, and they felt that connected. We are living in a time when our communities need to be loved and cared for. They cannot sustain themselves. They will not persevere on their own. And as Benjamin Franklin said, we must hang together, or most assuredly, we shall hang separately. We wear many hats, and we're proud of that. And with those many hats, we contribute to the common good. You all are smart enough to know that you need to take care of each other and yourselves and your family here at church, and you do it. And now with that strength and that energy and that resilience and that warmth and that hope, you bring that into your world. And we have a lot of work to do, but we have a lot of work you've been doing, and we'll continue to do that. And undergirding all of it, the most fundamental foundation is that we are the children of God and heirs with Jesus in the kingdom. And we bring that identity to every other identity we have. We bring it to want to serve the common good and to be good, as faulty as that may be at times, and we bring it to our endeavors. And this is the journey that all of us are on. Especially you all now that you are charting a new course. As you listen to God and one another, you will be deciding how you will put your faith into action. And you will do it with God's love, and you will do it with a pure heart, and you will do it knowing that this is your mission. And as a people of God, this is your service.